Hi everyone. So I'm back on track after my dose, thank God, because it was awful. But one good thing that came from it was the inspiration to do this video. And what I'm going to talk about is hypos or hypoglycemia and how I feel mine and how do you feel yours. And I suppose the reason I decided to do it was because even after 29 years, my diabetes never ceases to surprise me. Normally when I'm sick, my sugars go sky high, they skyrocket, but this time they decided to go low. And I was trying to think back over the years of any time that I have had low sugars when I've been sick, and I can't really remember any time, I don't think. They've always gone high. So here I am, and I decided to compare my hypos before and after the pump. And the reason for that is because since going on the pump, I've had a lot less hypos. Some weeks I don't get hypos at all. And I suppose per week maybe I might get one hypo compared to 4 or 5 before I went on the pump. So that's just brilliant for me. So I suppose before I went on the pump, the symptoms that I would have felt were, the main one for me was a feeling in my tummy. A little bit like I feel hungry or kind of butterflies. And I would also get the shakes and feel weak. And one important point that I need to make, before I went on the pump, I was hypo unaware. And what that means for the non-diabetics, it means that sometimes you are aware of your symptoms of a hypo and sometimes you are not. And that can be quite dangerous if you're not aware of your hypo symptoms, because you won't know when to treat yourself to bring your sugar levels up. And that can be quite dangerous if you're driving, if you're looking after a child, and even for yourself, because if you don't treat a hypo in time, you may become unconscious. So it's important that you know your symptoms and you're able to identify them, I suppose. So that was a huge thing for me. I could be 3 and I might get symptoms, and I could go down to 1.5 or 8 and I might not get any symptoms at all. I might just think, oh, I better check my sugars, and they're down to 1. So that's quite dangerous because that's very low. So I suppose the night sweats, the hypos at night are the worst. You wake up in a sweat, your pyjamas is drowned. I always found the night hypos much more intense. I suppose it's because maybe you've been low for quite a while and before you wake up. So it takes a good while to come back from the night ones. I suppose with the night ones as well, you just want to eat everything in the fridge. You have no willpower to stop eating. I suppose that's just your body's way of getting the sugar in. It's telling you need to eat. And I'd often get up and have a slice of toast with some lovely little chip marmalade as a treat. I know you shouldn't treat. You're always told not to treat your hypos, but I think everybody does have a treat. You have to kind of treat yourself when you're not allowed to eat it at normal times. So, but you never stop at 1. You always want to have 2 or 3 more because it tastes so nice. And you're looking in the fridge and you just want to eat everything that's in it. So that's one good thing about the pump. I can't remember having any night hypos since not the last couple of months anyway. So that's brilliant because it's not interfering with your sleep patterns. So since going on the pump, I have to say I've regained my hypo awareness, which is brilliant. And for me, the 2 things about going on the pump were getting the hypo awareness back, and also it stops the worry of going low. For me, that was a huge thing since I had Daniel. I never ever worried about hypos when before Daniel. They just didn't really scare me. I just dealt with them and that was it. But since Daniel came along, there has been a worry there. you know, that you could go low and you're not able to look after him. And that was one of the main reasons I decided I was going to go on the pump as well, because I had a really bad hypo earlier on in the year, and I was outside with Daniel and I'd no symptoms, and I just decided I would check my sugars. It's obviously your body's last resort. It just sends a message to the brain to say check your sugars. I don't know what it was, but I checked my sugars and they were 1.8, and all I had in my pocket were sweets, and I knew that the sweets weren't going to kick in quick enough. I needed to get something into me like Coke or liquid. So how do you reason with a toddler to try and get him inside? That was the hardest part. We have no gates on our house, and I was just really worried that if I passed out outside, how was I going to protect him? So I tried to reason with him, and there was no reasoning. I was wrestling with him near the end, and I literally just picked him up and ran and just prayed to God that I would make it inside the back door and close the door. Thank God I did. I just got him in, closed the door, and he was crying because I was after bringing him in. I was the worst mammy in the world, and I was crying because I was in such a state. And I also had to ring my mother-in-law to come down. Now I drank the Coke. I knew where I had it, and I sat on the floor and I drank it and I stayed with him. But it was an awful feeling. I suppose, to be a mother and not be able to look after your child, or think you're not able to look after your child, and also to have to ring somebody to come from work to help you. They're not nice feelings. So I suppose that was one of the main reasons I decided to go on the pump, and I've never looked back. The hypos are gone, a lot of them. Even during the week when I was sick, it saved me from a lot of them. The suspend before low function is excellent. It doesn't always save me from all of them, but it saves me from a hell of a lot. And I'm really delighted that I went on the pump. So I suppose, how do you feel yours? My main symptoms, I'll just recap, are the feeling in the tummy is the main one, the weakness and the shakes. And I suppose since going on the pump, the big things for me were I've had no night hypos, which is great, so my sleep is not interrupted. And even the feeling coming back from a hypo is really hard. Like, you're drained, your body is drained from trying to function, and you're not functioning 100%. So that's a huge thing for me. And the other two things are regaining my hypo awareness. That's a big thing, and just not to have the worry of going low is the other thing for me. So if you'd like to comment below how you feel yours. Everybody feels them differently, and maybe some people have unusual feelings or symptoms that they get. It would be great to see how you feel yours. And I suppose the other thing I'd like to say is, you're not on your own. I know when you're at home you feel like you are, but you really are not. And I would say again, if you are thinking about going on the pump, go for it, because it's a life changer. For hypos, and no worries, definitely a life changer for me. In saying that, I'm on the pump 6 months now, near enough, and it has taken the 6 months to get used to it. So it's not easy in the beginning, but it really is a life changer once you understand all the functions. And I will post up a few other videos of, explaining the functions of the pump as well. So stay tuned.